Hello, everyone, and welcome to Author Spotlight. I'm your host, Leslie Cottrell, and I coach nonfiction authors to write their legacy. And I'm also the COO at Victoria Shoe Press, where we help authors bring their stories to life and into the marketplace as a publishing services provider. We bring you captivating interviews with nonfiction writers who are really changing the world with their legacy books. Author Spotlight is all about giving you all a behind the scenes look at the writing and publishing process. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get started. I am so excited today to welcome Rhonda Wollard, who is the author of A Time to Heal, 7 Steps to Healing and Forgiveness After Sexual Abuse and Assault. Rhonda is a sexual abuse survivor, and she uses her personal story to help others find their own healing. She also co-authored a book called Catalyst, and that is, or is it called Catalyst Change, I think, and it's available.
Catalyst Change.
Perfect. Available on Amazon. Rhonda's the founder of RJW Guiding Services, LLC, where she serves as a certified master life coach specializing in forgiveness and grief. That is powerful. Rhonda, welcome. I'm so very happy to have you here with us today to give us an opportunity to talk about your powerful book. And I shared a little bit about you, but if you would be so kind to please tell us a little bit more about you and maybe tell us something that we might not know about you.
So I am from North Carolina. I am from Eastern North Carolina, about an hour and 45 minutes away from the Outer Banks. I am married and the mother of 2, and the apple of my eye is my grandson, Solomon. And I love to travel, especially cruising.
That sounds fun. We'll have to chat a little bit about that offline because I'm always curious to talk to people that like to cruise. I've never been on one. So for you, Rhonda, what was the turning point that prompted you to write this particular book that we're talking about today?
This book came out of my journey of forgiving myself. So I had forgiven my stepfather, who was my perpetrator, but I hadn't forgiven myself. I carried a lot of guilt and shame. And once I forgave myself and I used the 7 steps of forgiveness that I developed, then I was able to go on a healing journey. And as a result of that, I was able to be released from therapy with my therapist. I was able to lose weight, reduce the medications that I was on, felt better about myself, set boundaries with family, and just my overall life just became better. And so I wrote the book to share, to be able to help others, to show them what forgiveness can do, and also to help them, guide them with through their journey, but not to do it alone, to be able to do it with someone that has been through it and is still going through it, because healing is not linear.
True. So you really went through a holistic healing journey. That's incredible. And who specifically is this book for?
This book is for sexual abuse survivors, but I tell people that even though the title says for sexual abuse or sexual assault survivors, don't let that deter you. It can be for anybody, because we all have someone to forgive, whether it's ourselves, whether it's someone else. Because sometimes it can be a decision that we make. We might need to forgive ourselves for a decision that we made, or we may need to forgive someone in our lives that has done something to us or has hurt us in some way. But so the framework can work for anybody.
I agree with you on that, and I so honor that this book is written specifically for survivors of sexual assault, sexual abuse. But I honestly can't tell you how many times while reading your book I was struck by the fact that this book is such a powerful tool for anyone that needs to go through that process of forgiveness. So it's so interesting to hear you say that, because I thought that time and time again as I was reading this powerful book. So for you personally, I'm curious about what was the most challenging part of your decision to be so open and vulnerable in your writing? Because some people like to share a personal story, but they're selective and they pick and they choose and they're, well, I don't really want to reveal that, or I don't really want to reveal that. And so the story itself maybe gets a little watered down or muddled. But you were very open, very honest, very vulnerable. And how was that for you? Was that difficult or not?
Yes and no. If you knew me before I started on this healing journey, I was a very bold, outspoken person. Um, and then at the same time, I was a very broken person. So I was two people. But when I co-authored a catalyst change, when I wrote that, it came from my child's perspective. It didn't come from an adult perspective, whereas I could have probably written it different. My son also mentioned, Mom, he said to me, Mom, I couldn't believe that you were so vulnerable. And my comment to him was, I had to be, because it had to be authentic. And when people read the first book, they said that's how I felt, or that's what I wanted to say. And for me to be able to be real, and for me to be able to understand and to be relatable with people, I have to be authentic. And I'm not ashamed of my story. And I mentioned my forgiveness, the part that I had to forgive myself. That was because of a secret that I had held, that I had kissed my perpetrator at one time and I had blame. So once I overcame and forgave myself, that was a barrier. That was the only barrier that was holding me back about speaking all of my truth. So
Mhm.
I look at myself, I'm not a martyr, but I look at myself as someone that is willing to share my story, even for those that aren't ready to share theirs. And I hope that my speaking up, my honesty, my vulnerability, my transparency, I pray that that will inspire others to start their journey in whatever way. It might not be the same steps, the same progress as I have made, but even if they begin, then I hope that I can be a catalyst for them.
And you will be. You know, that's where the power comes from in this book, is that you don't hold back. Um, it's in that transparency that you are going to be a life ring for someone who's looking for healing. So I'm so thankful that you were so open, so honest, and so transparent. I'm curious about what made you realize that this was the time for you to write this book.
I'm going to be, I'm a woman of faith. And God ordains everything. Because if you would have told me a year ago that I would be here right now, I wouldn't have believed it. And so this journey started with a Facebook post, the original book, A Catalyst Change. And then the process got me to writing this book.
Mm.
And it introduced me the circles that I got in, and I got introduced to my publisher. And once I told my story, then she encouraged me. Blue Impressions publisher, she was like, the world needs to hear your story. She said, there are people that need to hear your story. So my publisher actually was one of the key components. She said, the world needs your story now. You know, not to hold on to it. And I did. And I believe that God places people in your life at the right time to move you forward into where direction his purpose.
He sure does, and I'm so glad that you connected with her, and that she prompted you to write this book, because it's really so so powerful, so well done, and it really left a mark on my heart. And I'll tell you, I was drawn in like right away. The introduction drew me in. I just want to read a couple of things that you wrote, just, short sentences.
Okay.
In your introduction, you wrote, time to feel, time to tell the truth, time to forgive, time to heal. This book was born from that moment. And you had me immediately right there, because that was a very inspiring glimpse into what I realized I was just about to experience.
Mm.
Something else in your book that grabbed me and made an impression was the fact that your stepfather never asked you for forgiveness, but
Correct.
you realized you didn't need that in order to forgive him.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't want to give away all of your book here, but I would love for you to share with us how you arrived at such a powerful, amazing revelation that many people would never get to.
Well, and it is more in depth in the book, but God spoke to me. And the first time I heard God's voice was when my stepfather was dying. And he spoke to me and he told me that in my house that there are many mansions. And when I went back into my stepfather's hospital room, there was an eldris, and she was reading John 14.
Mm. So I think you might have frozen, Rhonda.
Yeah, I think we broke. So when so the eldris was reading John 14. And so when you know that God can forgive somebody, then that's the ultimate forgiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
if God can show forgiveness, then why can't I? And when he died, he glowed. And I believe that God forgave him.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's so interesting that there's no doubt in my mind whether he, was not able to ask for forgiveness or not, but your expressing your forgiveness made his transformation, from life into afterlife much different than it would have been. That's an incredible gift that you gave someone who had done something in such a violating way against you. One of the things that I like about your book so much is at the end of every chapter, you do two things, and you do it
Mm-hmm.
at the end of every chapter. You
Mm-hmm.
offer some beautiful, deep reflection questions,
Mm-hmm.
but you also offer affirmations. So
Yes.
you're literally providing a roadmap for healing and creating a new life. And as a reader, I appreciate that care that you put into providing that with each chapter that you wrote.
And another part of it, I mentioned earlier that healing isn't linear. And then sometimes individuals may have to come back, and they will have that to go back and reflect. And not only if they have to go back through the steps again, sometimes it might just be seeing the growth that they have made. And it also might need to be a reminder of how strong they are. Or maybe on those bad days, they might need an affirmation for themselves.
That's such a good point, because we sometimes are kind of tracking our own progress and we think, okay, I've got that down. But something in life triggers us again and we realize, wait a minute, I'm not quite there yet. And so to have the opportunity to go back and review these chapters and review the affirmations, review the reflection questions allows that healing to be an ongoing thing. In chapter 2, you wrote, do not pity yourself.
Mhm.
Offer yourself compassion, yes, but do
Mhm.
not live in pity, because pity says, that's all that I am.
Mhm.
Compassion says, this is what I went through and I'm still worthy.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. That it was just so eye-opening to me, because you said it. You said it all in that statement, that pitying ourselves really keeps us in that state of it's almost implosion, right? You can't break out of that until you change that view of yourself.
Yes, because we become stuck in our circumstances. And that was one of the things that I learned, even for myself, is that I became stuck. And I wish I had some of those steps for myself, that I had it all developed, you know, that I could have moved forward. And that was why I've developed this framework, so that hopefully others will have this guide to be able to move forward. Because God has a purpose for our lives. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be whole. He wants us to have peace.
Well, I wish you'd had a guide like this too, but I'm so thankful that you wrote this for others. Um, in the next chapter, one of the things that you talked about, which is again another eye opener. I think there are people that are in that state of maybe healing or being prepared to heal, that will just, blow their mind open. And this one really gets me. You wrote about who's really to blame.
Mhm.
And let's be clear, the one to blame is the enemy. Your abuser was a tool in a larger spiritual battle. Yes, they
Yes.
made their choices. Yes, they caused harm, but when we zoom out, we see the fingerprints of spiritual warfare all over trauma.
Yes. Yes. Because the enemy, if he can destroy us as children, he can hinder our purpose that God has intended for us. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. So it's not about the trauma, it is about spiritual warfare. You hit it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but that's why, but we don't, because we're human. We see how it impacts us. And
Right.
because, and I mentioned in the book, we are the prize. But God, He, even though we are going through that trauma, He's with us. He's holding our hand, He's crying. He doesn't want this. This is not what He intends for us.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I wanted to say a quick hello to Lexi Johnson, who's joining us today. I'm so happy to have you with us, Lexi.
Alexi.
Another thing you talked about in chapter 5, which I think is a difficult concept to embrace when you're in the thick of blaming yourself, and that is that you're not what happened to you.
Yes. Yes, because it's hard to move on. I think that's a very difficult step. But I think when we become aware of the truth and we dispel the lies, then we're able to move forward.
And you talked about being a testimony, Rhonda. Tell us why is it important to voice your freedom?
Because it's important to get us out of the shackles of what and I keep on talking about moving forward. And when we voice our freedom, we start healing. When we voice our freedom, we're chipping away at that trauma. No, we're not erasing what happened to us, but we're chipping away at it and healing. And not only are we doing that, but we're also giving others permission to start their healing journey also. And
Great.
it does. It makes you feel better. But it's scary. That's the thing. It's scary to do. And it's not fun. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard work. But the more you do it, you're going to be chipping away, chipping away. Just like somebody takes, I forgot what you call it, chips at ice. That's what you're doing.
The sculpting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I could continue talking about this book for a long time, but let's do a shift because we talk about the writing process too here. So let's shift into that a little bit. I'm curious to know what your particular writing process was like. Did you have a set routine? Was your writing more organic?
So it was more kind of what I wanted to share. Looking at scriptures, um kind of doing a shell of a framework, kind of what I wanted to present to the readers. So it was kind of hodgepodge.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have a special um guidance. I looked at I honestly um was going to do either the forgive framework or the healing framework. And I end up doing the forgive framework because that is the basis. And then I kind of built from what I wanted to share based on the experiences that I had and what had helped me through my process.
Mm. So we briefly touched on this earlier, and we talked a little bit about self-doubt. How did you push through self-doubt as a writer during the process of writing your book?
Well, I think I was fortunate because I had a lot of encouragement, but I think the self-doubt part was I think on the magnitude about the world it wants to hear your story. You know, um I think for me, I was thinking more on a smaller scale. I was thinking about people that knew me, that needed it, versus on a larger scale. And it seems like, it's going a little bit more wide, a little bit more wider. So I think in those terms, I think I was more thinking on a smaller scale. The story was fine, and I don't think I guess I wasn't sure about the how it would impact people that didn't know me, because a lot of people that started off reading the first book were people that knew me.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So this is now your second book. What,
Yes.
if you look back, what part of the actual publishing process has surprised you the most?
I
Rhonda, I think you
the
froze again. There you go. I think you're back, but you froze for a minute.
I think the difference between the two, the first one was more with self-publishing with Amazon. The individual that I did it with was self-publishing, and this one doing it through a publisher. I really appreciate the person that I work with, but I have gotten a lot more support, I think,
Mm,
with a publisher. Even with marketing and kind of tips and things like that. So I think people have to make a choice about which one works for them. But from my perspective, the publisher route has worked better for me. So
yeah.
being new to it, I think finding a really excellent publisher has been surprising to me. That's not something that I would have thought that I would be doing.
That's a great point because there is so much to that process, and it's impossible as a new author to know all that you don't know. So having a publisher hold your hand through it can really make all the difference in the world. Rhonda, what do you most want readers to take away from your book?
The main thing is that you can that healing, there is forgiveness in healing. And I usually like to share, and it applies to me and it applies to other individuals that will read the book. And I'll usually share the end of the book, and it's entitled I Am the Story. And
Mm,
it says, I am not what broke me. I am what rose from it. I am not the silence. I am the voice that shattered it. I am not the wound. I am the wisdom. I am not the pain. I am the purpose. I am not what they did. I am what I choose to do now, to heal, to rise, to love, to live. I am the story, and I am still being written.
mm. That is beautiful. Rhonda, thank you for sharing that with us. So, if your book could reach just one person today, who would you want that to be and why?
Anybody that wants healing, anybody that wants healing and to make a change in their life.
Wonderful. So, do you see another book on your horizon?
Well, yes, I actually in the next couple of months will a 30-day devotional will be coming out to accompany the book.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so, what else? What else is next for you, Rhonda? What's coming up?
Well, I have two coloring books. The first one is A Color to Heal. That is available on Amazon. And I am working on the second one that's coming out, A Time to Heal to Color. And that one will will be on Amazon also. However, it's still in the proof stage. I haven't approved it yet.
Wonderful. Good for you. That's so exciting. Will you share with us how readers can connect with you, whether it's through your website, your social media? Um, how can they find you?
The easiest way, I'll just give them one location. They can connect with me at yourtimetoheal.net. Yourtimetoheal.net. And
Perfect.
if they email me from there, they can reach me.
That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Rhonda. It's been so great to spend a little bit of time with you today. And really, I'm honored to get to talk about your beautiful, beautiful book. So let's give a huge thank you to Rhonda Wollard for sharing her journey with us today. And if you would like to appear on Author Spotlight, just drop me a message. You actually don't have to be a published author through Victoria Shoe Press like Rhonda, published through another publisher. This is our way of giving back to the writing community because we love and honor the hard work that is going into creating these beautiful books that are legacies. So thank you for your time. Keep writing because your words are your legacy. Thank you, Rhonda, again. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.